Please raise your hand if you truly love teamwork. Not too many hands go up, and trust me, you're not the only ones. When I ask this very same question to the people I work with, many hands stay down as well. So then I ask them, what is it that you don't like about teamwork? And then they tell me very colorful stories about free riders and slackers, about dominant people, passive people, about irritations and misunderstandings. So this is a big problem in teams. So often teams come up to me and they ask, hey, can you teach us some teamwork skills, communication skills, feedback skills? But if there's one thing I've learned, it's that if you really want to solve those kinds of problems, teaching skills is not enough. Let me illustrate the problem of skills with a story from my personal life. I love communication. I love to learn how teams communicate. So every time when I learn a new technique, communication trick, or skill, I try it on my wife. So a few years ago, I learned this great new technique. It was about building a common ground first, which means something like if you're in a discussion, don't start at the point of disagreement, but start at the point of agreement. So I asked my wife, we really love each other, don't we? And she said, yeah. Yeah. So if you love each other, you're willing to do something for one another, right? And she said, I guess you wouldn't want to disappoint me, right? And by then she was, what do you want from me? You're completely manipulating me. And rightly so. I was joking a bit with her. But this is also a neat example of how the right skill with the wrong intention creates disaster. It's like playing the piano in a very skillful way, but without feeling, sensitivity, devotion. It's just notes, not music. So, how can we make music in teams? How can we make teamwork more effective, but also more enjoyable and more peaceful? And my message today is when the going gets tough in teamwork, you do not need more skills, techniques, or tricks. What you need is compassion. Now, I could explain to you what compassion is. I could tell you how it works and why it works, but rather I'd give you an experience of compassion. So I would like you, for a moment, to join me and close your eyes for a moment. Something like that. Please close your eyes right now. Because I want you to imagine someone. Imagine someone from your life who you love. Someone close to you. Maybe a good friend, family member, maybe even a spiritual teacher. You pick someone from your life and imagine them sitting in front of you. Now imagine that you look in their eyes and they look in your eyes. You're making contact with this person. Can you see the features of their face? Now, as you're doing this, can you realize that just like you, this person wants to be happy? Just like you, this person wants to avoid pain and suffering. Just like you, this person loves and wants to be loved. Just like you, this person has dreams and knows disappointments. Just like you, this person has had ups and downs in their life. So can you see their intense strength as a human being? But can you also see their vulnerability? Okay, you can open your eyes again. So just like me, the first time when I had this feeling of compassion was when I was about 22 years old. And I was reflecting back on my teenage years. And like many teenagers, I had a lot of fights with my parents. I was stubborn, never quite happy and satisfied, and always debating my parents. We had slamming doors, we had shouting and all that. But at a certain moment, things got so bad that my parents even considered out-of-home placement for me. And that was a shock. I felt lost, lonely, confused. It was a very difficult time, both for me and for my parents. A few years later, I met a coach, and this coach asked me a question that turned out to be a life-changing question. He asked me to, just like you, close my eyes and imagine the very first moment when my mother told my father she was pregnant with me. And I imagined them to be young, happy, excited, and hopeful. And imagining that allowed me for the first time in my life to really step into their shoes. And then it struck me that actually all my life they had been on my side. They were caring for me, they wanted the best for me. They did the best they could. So then why did we have these fights? Well, I realized that our fights were tragic ways in which we tried to satisfy some basic needs. I just wanted to have some autonomy, to feel safe, and to feel loved. My parents wanted some respect, some peace of mind, but also safety and love. But we just didn't know how to get it, so we fought. Just like me, they felt hopeless and powerless in this situation. And when I realized that, I was deeply touched. To be honest, I cried my heart out, but it also allowed us healing. And now we fortunately have a wonderful relationship, and I'm very glad with the relationship I have with them. And it all started with putting myself in their shoes. Now, why do I tell you this? The reason is I see similar patterns in teams, actually, because most teams know how to do basic communication. They know how to run a project. They know how to divide tasks. That's not usually the problem. Real problems arise when there are hidden frustrations, unspoken expectations, deep emotions in the team. And this is surprisingly often the case, especially with teams who have known each other for a bit longer. So, and if you find yourself in a situation like that, you might easily judge your teammates and go like, the other people, they're just evil, lazy, stupid, or crazy. But usually, they're not. Usually, just like you, they're trying to satisfy a basic need in the only way they know. So when I help teams to see their teammates in a more compassionate light and to put themselves in the other person's shoes, then everything changes. People feel more safe and respected, communication becomes more gentle and understanding, and decisions become more inclusive. This is really how we can make teams stronger with compassion. It's absolutely fabulous. Unfortunately, usually we don't work with our loved ones in teams. So, let's try our visualization once more. So again, please close your eyes for a minute and join me. Close your eyes for a minute, and this time I would like you to imagine someone you have a difficult relationship with. Maybe someone you're in a bitter fight with right now, or maybe someone you just feel a bit uncomfortable around. Now imagine this person sitting in front of you. And imagine that, again, you're making contact. You look in their eyes, they look in your eyes. How does that feel to actually make contact with this person? Now again, Can you realize that just like you, this person wants to be happy and wants to avoid pain and suffering? Just like you, this person loves and wants to be loved. They are a friend, a child, or a parent to someone important in their life. Just like you, this person has dreams and knows disappointments. They know feelings like shame, sadness, stress, fear. Just like you, they know what it is to be imperfect. So can you see their struggle? Can you see what greater pain they're trying to avoid by doing what they're doing? Can you see that whatever they did to you was a tragic expression of an unmet need? Because if you can really see that, you probably have no choice but to be more compassionate and find a better way together. Okay, you can open your eyes again. This is harder to do, isn't it? And let me be clear, doing this is not your magic wand and all your problems will be over. You will still have difficult conversations. Also, doing this doesn't mean you should become a pushover and just accept anything the other person does. You know, sometimes you need to protect yourself and set boundaries. But if you truly see that the other person is just like you, then you can set those boundaries in a more gentle, understanding, and composed way. Instead of responding to harmful behavior in a harmful way, and you get into this vicious cycle of harm, and everyone does harm all the time, you know, going back and forth with harm, compassion is saying, the buck stops with me, because I understand where all this comes from. The buck stops with me. So compassion is not a happy feeling you have while sitting on a meditation pillow in eternal bliss. Compassion is a strong intention. It's a strong intention that should be reflected in real life. So now we get to you. Next time you have a difficult conversation or a difficult team meeting, prepare it. Take some time to prepare that meeting and close your eyes. And first, connect to the vulnerability of the other people, of their needs that they're trying to satisfy. Connect to the humanity that you share with the other person. And then you can ask yourself this very powerful question. What would compassion do? What would be the compassionate response in that situation? And then you visualize yourself doing that, and then you set a strong intention to actually do that. Now, I see great promise in this. Because in the end, we're part of many teams, with our family, our friends, our colleagues, our sports team, and in a way, we're even a team with this room. And beyond that, our city, our state, and finally, our planet. And at that level, we have huge challenges ahead of us, from COVID to climate change, from poverty to war. And sometimes we do need to protect ourselves. But in the end, we are in it together. We're on it together. We need to bridge our differences together. All we have is each other. We need to teach compassion. But if we make our teams, our planet, stronger with compassion, we can make this world a better place. Now, these are big words, beautiful words. I'm inspired by my own words. But the reality is, I don't do this. Not perfectly, not when it's difficult, and sometimes not even when it matters most. Compassion is hard to me sometimes. But I try. I try to be a bit better every day. And I hope that today you feel inspired, just like me, to try and to set out on a journey together towards that more compassionate world. It will be trial and error, doing your best, failing sometimes, and then trying to stay kind to yourself. But it's a beautiful journey. We can make this world a better place if every now and again we close our eyes and imagine that the other person is just like you.